Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Everyday Life. With COVID going on and everybody having to stay indoors, it's great for kids to have something to do. And this is a great little science project that you can put together for very little money. And it's very entertaining as a great example of how alternating current works, or a great demonstration. So let's just give this thing a little spin. So we're going to be showing you how to put this together. So stick with us. Okay, so I'd like to give you a little quick breakdown of what we're going to be using today for materials. I'm using a 6" by 6" piece of OSB. You can pretty much use any wood you want, kind of up to you as long as everything fits. I'm using two 2.5" cotter pins, a little bit of wire, just some real thin gauge wire. You can pick this stuff up at a hobby store. Works really well. You're also going to need a probably about a 1/2" thick by inch piece of balsa wood, some 1/8" copper tubing. You're also going to need some coated copper wire, and you can get that at an electrical store. 1.5" by 1.5" L brackets. You're going to need some magnets, and I like these full-size magnets so you don't have to split them up. And I got these at Harbor Freight for 99 cents. They work great. They're about 1 7/8" high, 3/8" thick, and about 7/8" wide. And then, of course, you're also going to need some test leads. I also got these at Harbor Freight, pretty cheap, with the alligator clips on them. You'll need a 6-volt battery. And you do have the option to use a 9-volt battery, and I'll show you how we hook that up later on. So let's get started. Okay, everybody, so we're going to start with this little piece of balsa here. You can usually pick this up at a hobby store. Hopefully they have it in stock. What I usually use is like a 1/2" by 1" piece of balsa. And I usually get a long section of it, and then I cut it down into sizes that'll work for me. I went ahead and drilled a hole through the center of it, and I put the little piece of copper tubing through the center of it. With some, of course, as you can see, left out. You're going to want a little bit more on this side, or on one side. It doesn't really matter which side, just one side for your pieces of wire to overhang and push up against the post. Then as you can see, what I've also done is I've also made little grooves in the side here, and that just helps the wire to lay down a little tighter into the piece of wood. So anyway, we'll go ahead and start the wire wrapping next. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do with this wire is we're going to kind of put like a little angle on it here so that it'll bend down and fit kind of snug to the tubing. And you can kind of play around with this. What you'd like is you'd like the wire to stick all the way out to the edge of the tubing. And of course I can feel it right now. I can see that it's to the edge of the tubing, and I'm just going to kind of hold it right now. And then we'll go ahead and wrap this. I'm going to wrap this probably around 6 times. Depending on the gauge of wire you use, depends on how many wraps, and you may have to experiment with that. Smaller gauge wire, 4 to 5 wraps, usually works. I've got a little thicker gauge wire here. I'm going to go ahead and start with 6, and we'll see how that plays out. And so as we wrap it, as you go around, you want to alternate the side of the tubing as you go around. So we'll go around this direction. And then we'll come on the other side. Hope you can see what I'm doing here. And so that's 4 times. And 6 times. So I'm gonna try 6 On this one right here, I will be honest, I haven't used the 20 gauge previously. I've usually used 22, 24. They didn't have that in stock at the time that I went and got this, so I'm just going to also experiment with the 20 gauge and see what I have to do in order to make that successful. So I'm going to be playing around with the wraps as well. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we'll start with the 6. We'll try it out, and I may have to redo this. So anyway, we'll be back for the next phase. So actually, before I wrap this, I just wanted to show you on these ends right here, we're going to need to take this coating off. So I've got some emery cloth right here, and I'm going to go ahead and scrape this stuff off. You can also use a razor blade, just anything to kind of get this coating off of the copper and expose the copper wire. Okay, so as you can see, I put some tape around here. I couldn't find my electrical tape. I think I know where it's at, but I didn't want to go out and get it right now. But anyway, I just use a little masking tape just to keep this kind of tight on here. And then I went ahead and added just a real skinny little piece right on here on this piece of tubing sticking out where the 2 wires come down. Just want to make sure we get good contact right there. So the next step in this process is to go ahead and put it on the board and mark it off. Okay, so we've got our board here that we're going to be mounting this to. So I'm going to go ahead and position this, pretty close to the center. You want it just a little bit offset. So in the front area here is where you're going to put your wires to connect. So I'll just bring it back just a little bit. And I'm going to mark out just a little ways. These don't have to be exact, just as long as they're in line with the tubing. And what we'll be doing is putting some holes there and putting a couple of cotter pins in. So I'll be right back for that. Okay, so we got the holes drilled, and I've got the cotter pins inserted. I even put a little bit of hot glue from a glue gun on here, and just to kind of hold those a little bit. And then I've also cut this wire, and this wire will be holding the piece of balsa wood with the wire wraps on it. And so it'll hold it in here. Let's just kind of take a look at that. So it'll hold it in just like that. So we'll be back and I'll show you how to hook up the wires. We'll also be putting some magnets in there. Okay, everybody, I'm going to have to do a makeup video here. For some reason, I ended up deleting one of my instructional videos that went over the installation of these L brackets. So I'm just going to kind of take you through a little brief session on how to do that. So what I did is you have to have the magnets on the L bracket when you're doing this. So you want to start with one side. And of course, I don't fasten this screw down all the way just in case I need to shift it just a little bit. And you want to make sure that it's not touching, but not too far away from the edge of the balsa wood here with the wire wrap on it. I think I've got 3/16 here, maybe quarter inch, but somewhere in that neighborhood. But you don't want it too far and you don't want it too close. You don't want it to rub. So once I've got that in place, then I go ahead and use the glue gun. Then I bring the other side up and do the same thing with that. I slide it up where I need it so that it's even with the other side or as close to it as I can get. And then I fasten that down using the same method. So anyway, once again, I apologize that got deleted, but hopefully you can see how I set those up. Okay, everybody, so let me take you through the final step here. And once we complete this step, then we can test it out and see how it all works. So what I did was I took a screw and I put a screw on each side. I don't put it all the way down, just enough to keep it secure. And then I cut a section of wire off. And what you're going to want to do is sand each end of the wire down, just like we did for the wire coming off against the copper tubing. And so you're going to sand each end down. And then what I did was I took mine, I just wrapped it around one time. You can do it more than that if you want to. Once I've wrapped it around one time, then I go ahead and I put some hot glue down just to keep it in place and secure. And then, of course, I can wiggle these around as needed. You're going to want to do that for both sides. Now, once you've got that taken care of, then what you want to make sure of is that the wires coming up, that each side makes contact with those two wires that are coming off of the balsa wood onto the copper tubing. So you want to make sure both of those wires coming up make contact with those two wires on either side of the copper tubing. And then once you've done that, then it's time to test it out and see how it works. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and give this thing a test here and see what we get. So I'll go ahead and hook the leads up and then hook that to the 6-volt battery and see what we come up with here. And let's see here, get this hooked up. Okay, so as you can see, it does work. It runs a little bit slower than what I'm used to, so I may require another wrap or two on this thing. So, but you know, at least it works. That's a great thing. Also on the 9-volt battery, if you wanted to, you can hook directly to the leads on this 9-volt battery, so that you can hook here, negative here, and you got your positive here. And as you can see, it was twitching there, and it's turning. The other route that I've also used it at times is you can cut off from another device. You can just snip off the wires from this if it's a device that you can't use anymore, and then you can just put this cover right on the battery, and then you've got these little wires here that you can just hook directly to. So we can hook that up and see what we get on that end. And as you can see, you know, it turns just the same. So anyway, I hope you learned a little something here today, had a little fun in the meantime. If you want to learn more about this, by all means, go in and do some research on electromagnetism and alternating current, and then you can have a better understanding as to why what's happening is happening. I hope you enjoyed what you saw here today. If so, please be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time here on Everyday Life, y'all take care.